everyone. Welcome to Greatness Valley Lifestyle and Prayer Cafe, where faith meets lifestyle. In part 1.8, Joseph was confronted with his brothers. He asked everyone to leave him alone with his brothers, the ones who really wanted him dead. And he broke down. The prime minister of Egypt broke down. We need to find out what else happened. Why was this so intense? As we continue in the text, verse 2, where it says, Joseph cried so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and even Pharaoh's household heard him. Why was that even important to be noted anyway? But let's see what we can find out. So when we really think about it logically and historically, Pharaoh was not living in a small apartment complex or a one-bedroom anything, okay? He lived in a palace complex, if you will, with walls and stairs and tremendous amount of space. Yet Joseph's loud crying was heard all throughout these vast palace complexes. Can you hear the people in the hallway or on the outside asking, who is that? Where's that sound coming from? You know how we are. All of the years of grieving the loss of his family and never thinking for a moment that he would see them again. The betrayal. Remember, Joseph was not able to interpret his dream. So he had no idea if or when he would ever see his family again. So you can only imagine that he's seeing the brothers first who did this to him. Can you imagine the flood of the imagery that came back to his mind? How they stripped off his clothes and threw him in the pit and then dragged him out, and how they were selling him, and he's screaming, telling them, no, we're brothers, don't do this to me. And they're collecting the money from the merchants and mocking him. Go ahead, you dreamer. Can you see all of this stuff coming back to Joseph's mind? If it didn't come back, then he would not be human, because he had a brain, and the fact that he recognized them as adults, he hadn't seen them since he was 17. The fact that he recognized them, and they're all grown, that helps you. He also recognized what they did. So all those years grieving the loss, the betrayal, the beating that he suffered in prison, the general culture shock living in a new country with a new language and new lifestyle. And when you add it all up, the love in his heart towards his heartless brothers made the moment extremely complex, as noted before. You know that some moments in this life can only be expressed through tears. Not words, tears. Joseph expressed all of that pain in that loud cry, or as they would say, bawling. Okay? That came from the depth of his soul, pouring out all of those years of pain and hurt. The grief was real. whether we want to see it or not. So tears and crying is crucial. It's very important. You can check out the resources I mentioned in part 1. How to step out of grief and bloom. You will see a section about crying. That will help somebody. I'm sure of that. There's one person that is often left out of the confrontation issue, and that is self. Sometimes we need to confront ourselves and examine, how do we feel about ourselves? How do we relate to ourselves? Do we speak down to ourselves? Do we embarrass ourselves? What do we do to ourselves that would say that we don't show any love to ourselves? We have to participate in self-care, not to worship ourselves, not to become selfish, where it's all me, 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 but being considerate of oneself. Why? Because we're called to love others the way we love ourselves. So to the degree that we love ourselves, then we will express that to other people. So if we hate ourselves, then how would we fulfill that to love others? Even if other people say that you're nothing, or you're not important, or you are nothing but a slave and you're just worth being sold to strangers, you must learn from Joseph right here and recognize that even if you are a slave in terms of your environment and what you are being forced to do, because Joseph did not voluntarily choose to be a slave, but if you're forced into this situation, you've got to remember that you are more than that. It's your current situation, and you're looking to the God who is able to bring freedom in so many different ways. Because you can be in chains and be free. You can be out of chains, walking around in society, and be in jail in your mind. So recognizing where you are as a person and checking in on yourself. Find out, how am I doing right now? How am I feeling right now? I would still recommend to you How to Step Out of Grief and Bloom, the journal. All of those prompts are there. It helps you to see you and to see others positively without putting yourself down or accepting other people's put down. So, on the note of forgiveness, we get to see that this was key in Joseph's story. He forgave his brothers, understanding that their actions, albeit hurtful, were all part of a larger divine plan. In our lives, embracing forgiveness can lead us to unforeseen paths of peace and reconciliation. Joseph was able to send for his father and younger brother Benjamin, and he gave all of them a place to live in Egypt, right near his home, where he could take care of them. Because again, this is a crisis. There's a famine. If they stay where they used to live, they will die from starvation. This is a famine. So Joseph looked at all of that. He could have said, okay, here's a bag of corn or whatever. Take it and go. When it's finished, too bad for you. He didn't do that. He looked ahead and knew that they would starve. They would be hungry. And that again would be another way to be vindictive, to say, oh, well, I gave you a bag of corn, so too bad. But no, he took them in and fed them all the way through, took care of them. Isn't that something? Would you be able to do that to the people who harmed you? That's where we have to really ask that question. Would you be able to do that to some folk who did some horrible things to you? We get to see that Joseph acknowledged that his suffering had a purpose. The purpose was to save lives. When we contextualize our suffering within God's plan, we might not understand the why. Why is this happening to me? Why is this taking so long? But we can find comfort in the who. That means the who is God. God is with us in the darkest hours. Let's focus on the who, not on the why, because the who is the God who is with us in the situation. So we just want to remember that God is in control, because God could have allowed the famine to happen 6 months after Joseph was sold. But Joseph's response might have been one of anger and resentment towards his brothers. It might have been totally different. God did not allow their meeting, their reconciliation, to happen too early or too late. He allowed it to happen right on divine schedule. Not even Joseph knew. Not even Joseph knew. The brothers certainly didn't know. So it happened right on divine schedule. When Joseph was ready to let out his tears of grief and offer forgiveness, 1, and 2, when his brothers were genuinely sorry for what they did and their hearts could accept the forgiveness that was offered. As Joseph told his brothers, "You meant what you did to me for evil because you wanted to kill me. So you meant all of this for my death. But God turned it around for good to save lives in the famine, including your lives. Because see, you brothers," he didn't say all of this, I'm simply just expanding on the text. "You brothers had no idea that in the future there would be a famine, and I would be the one to give you food. So if I had died, if you had gotten your wish and your desire for me to die, you would have been destroyed yourselves. Because here you are now getting food. So God sent me ahead to save people, including those who tried to kill me." What would you do if God asked you to do something to help the person who tried to destroy you? Type it in the chat. What would you do if God said, "I want you to go to jail. I want you to go down in a pit. I want you to go through all of this slavery issue. And I'm telling you up front that it's to save all the people who are trying to destroy you." What would you say to that if God laid out all of it to you on the front end instead of sharing it at the end? Would you take on that challenge? Think about it. Find out what happens next in part 1.10. Through guided lessons, practical exercises, and supportive resources, you'll learn how to process your emotions, let go of the past, and rise stronger than ever before. No matter how deep the hurt, there's always a way to heal. Join me on this journey of transformation, and together we can turn your pain into power. Sign up today. GreatnessValleyLifestyle.com has the resources you need for a brighter tomorrow. The healing journey begins with you. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more tips and inspiration on your path to healing. We want to thank our wonderful sponsor, Lily Love Notebooks. That's LILYLUV Notebooks. And this is for our prayer journal. Thank you so very much. We have these wonderful prayer journals that are absolutely amazing, prompted, and filled with just lots and lots of pages for daily intercessory prayer for churches, families, those who are sick, reflection notes, answers to prayers, and so much more. This prayer journal is what we're using in all of our series. And so we want to thank Lily Love, and you can find this wonderful prayer journal at Amazon.com. You can find the link in the description. Once again, thank you so very much for sharing this wonderful prayer journal with us. We want to remind you that we have resources to help you navigate through grief. We have a practical guide, How to Step Out of Grief and Bloom. This is for anyone and everyone, whether you're grieving or not. It will prepare you for that time or to help someone who is. This is packed with stories of those who went through grief, the various stages in grief, biblical text that helps you to navigate in terms of God's divine providence and how He sees you and the fact that He is with you. So it really helps you in the day-to-day moments to understand what's happening to you or what is going to happen to you, so you can be proactive and understand it even before it happens. And we also have the grief journal, How to Step Out of Grief and Bloom, same name or title as the practical guide. And this is a prompted journal. That means it has all the prompts. It tells you what to do. It asks the questions. It reminds you of all the different activities that you can do, and it gives you examples. It gives you pages so that you can write. It gives you different activities. You can write letters and all of the different things that you need to do to help you as you walk through grief. I assure you, you will not regret having these resources. Check them out on Amazon.com, and the link will also be in the description of this video. Have a wonderful day.